we're talking about the history of MMA, there aren't too many people better than yourself to talk about it. So talk to us about the progression of the sport from like 2 decades ago when you first got into it to how it is right now.
I was indeed there in the beginning. I had a kickboxing studio in a little college town in Massachusetts, Western Massachusetts. I got a mailer saying, is there anybody in your gym that wants to fight? And there was an ad in Black Belt magazine, we're going to have a no rules fight. I didn't think it was anything, I thought it was professional wrestling, because there'd been things like that going. There actually had been MMA-like events in the 70s. Count Dante had the Taunton death matches, a guy named Fred Hamilton had no rules fights. It had been going on for a while, but low level. It was nothing new to me when I first saw that thing. I'm like, I'm not going to pay any attention to this. But it was $14.95. We gathered at a rich friend's condo. We watched the show, and I'm like, and I realized I had wasted 20 years of my life. That was the very beginning of it. So I'm proud to say I opened up the first MMA gym in my home state of Massachusetts. And then the sport died. John McCain, may he rest in peace, for whatever reason was not friendly about the sport. And I have to say, I get it. I was originally a boxing fan, starting from childhood. I would get how a boxing person thinks it's dirty fighting. Again, Joe Frazier, rest in peace, was interviewed and he goes, I don't like it. It's fighting on the ground. It's dirty fighting. It's not, but you have that perspective. And the thing that connected me hardest to that dirty fighting thing is there was a late 90s, there was a challenge fight between Enson Inoue, and I forget his name, some huge Brazilian, and the Brazilian spit. And I'm like, you can't spit, that's disgusting, it's horrible. These two guys elbow each other in the head. Spitting is not inherently dangerous at all, but they didn't like it. So the sport was despised for reasons I understand. It had essentially almost died. And now Rob Hewitt is putting on the MMA equivalent of the Academy Awards. And I have to say, I never believed this would happen. I think there were other people smarter than me that knew the sport was going to be big. Dana White just knew, well, he didn't know it. Dana White didn't even know it. They acquired $20 million in debt, plus an extra $2 million. They lost tens of millions of dollars more. Dana White said, I knew I had the right idea, but it might have been the wrong time. So maybe nobody knew it was going to be big, but I sure didn't. When the sport was at its lowest, my plan was to try and build it up kind of from the high school level, try and get into high schools all across the country, and then over a generation, over 30 years, it might turn into something. But the Ultimate Fighter, the Ultimate Fighter Season 1 really sealed the deal for the sport, and it's done nothing but ascend and ascend and ascend and ascend. And now, again, thanks to Rob Hewitt, we've got the equivalent of the Academy Awards right here.
And obviously you helped found the original, iconic, the OG,
the UG.
The UG. You're the OG of the UG, right?
I'm the OG of the UG, baby.
And we've got Fighters Only, which has grown over 2 decades as well. What does the brand of Fighters Only mean to you?
I'm very glad you asked me that. There was a time, people reading this are not going to believe it, but it's a stone fact. There were 13 MMA magazines, and I had subscriptions to all of them, and I still have all of them. Starting with the Vale Tudo News, that was the first one. Vale Tudo News was about '94. It was made from Xerox pieces of paper, stuck together. That was the very first one. Full Contact Fighter, Joel Gold. Joel, you're the man. Became really big for a while, again was one of the sustaining forces behind it. And then the publishing industry just got hit and hit and hit and hit. And now there's one survivor. There's one company that didn't just make it through, it soared. And that's you guys. And the proof is right here in this extraordinary event that you're putting on.
Well, I hope you have a really good night. It's a big night for Fighters Only. Hopefully it'll be a fun night for everybody who's attending.